Hello and welcome to Nexonia's overview of our Advanced Expense Report interface. What you'll see is the Home tab. This is what you'll see once you log in. Your company will actually have its own branding, very likely, so you'll actually see your own company logo and corporate colors. When we click on the Expenses tab, the first thing you'll notice is that it has My Expense Reports checked off, and this is showing that I have one expense report created actually a couple years ago for a Chicago trade show. If I'm an administrator or I'm a manager with subordinates, if I uncheck this checkbox, you'll see all of the subordinate people beneath you. You can then sort this by clicking on the approval status icon. You can sort it by employee. If you click again, it'll sort it in descending mode. Typically, people leave it sorted by report code, which will put the most recent ones at the top. And you can sort it by any column that you see here. In addition, you could also filter the report. So if you only wanted to look at one user, you could filter it, and when you add a filter, you'll only see those reports for that particular user. Very simple to clear the filter. You just click on it to clear it. If you wanted to edit any of the expense reports, you can use your arrow keys if you wanted to edit between them. You can also single click and click edit, or you can actually double click. If you double click, you go straight into the expense report where you can view it. You can see the weeks and the charges. This is showing that this expense report is in for approvals. There are no receipts that are actually included in the system, and we can see it summarized, so it tells us how much is the subtotal and total due. In fact, you can also turn on subtotals by general ledger account and show all the breakdowns in terms of what's reimbursable expenses and what is not reimbursable expenses. Those are all system configuration options that are available. So let's go ahead and add an expense report. Let's go ahead and make it My Expenses, add a report, and we're going to call this one New York City trip. And we're going to click OK. When we do that, we're going to see our blank expense report where we can sit here and add line items. You can also see there's a currency drop down here. So right now we have US, actually I'll just open that up and show you. We have US dollar and Canadian dollars. Now I can show you, it's very simple to go ahead and turn on currencies. And right now, under Setup Company Financial Currencies, we have, make it the long list, 161 currencies that are in the system. All of these currencies can be turned on, and when they are turned on, you can also indicate that you'd like us to automate on a daily basis the exchange rates. And what that means then is that when we automate the exchange rates, it means that if you enter an expense where you put in a taxi charge from 3 weeks ago, it'll use the exchange rate that was in effect on that day. So let's go back. Here's our New York City trip that we created. It's got one charge. It's got an airfare. Let's go ahead and add a couple others. Let's add a parking charge of $24 today. And rather than click Save and Close, because clicking Save and Close and add expense item can be fairly tedious if you had to do that for every line item, we can go ahead and add maybe a hotel charge of $562 today. But let's click Save and New. So what that does, it allows us to continue to add in expenses without having to close the editor. So it makes it a lot quicker. So I'm going to put a parking charge in back on the 12th. I'm going to make that $23. Save and New. I'm going to add a taxi charge on the 13th of $45, and this time I'm going to click Save and Copy, and what that'll do is save the item, and then it'll have ready to save a duplicate of the item. So let's go ahead and make it on the 11th, and we'll click Save and Close then. So now you'll see there actually are two taxi charges in there for 2 different days, the 11th and the 13th. You can see by this icon that everything's in draft. You can also see that we violated some policies here. We violated a hotel policy, and the taxi charges also seem to be violated. And if we look at this, it'll say that maximum amount is $100, and of course we're not above that limit at only $45, but a receipt is required above $10, and we haven't turned on that we have a receipt. So if we turn that on, we'll see that the one policy violation has disappeared here, and we can do the same thing for this taxi receipt just to indicate that we have a receipt that we're going to attach to the report. The hotel charge, I think it's probably a different thing. Yeah, the maximum is $250. However, probably what's going on here is this hotel bill is actually for 3 days, and we've only got it on one day, the 14th. So let's go ahead and split that hotel bill. Let's add, let's say, 33% of it is today, and let's go ahead and click Save and Copy. And then let's put a bunch in yesterday and click Save and New. And then let's go ahead and put the rest of it in on the 12th and click Save and Close. And now what we've done is we've got the whole hotel charge has been split up, and we can go ahead and click Save and Close. And it broke that hotel bill up into 3 days, which removed the policy violation because the policy is based on the daily limit for the expense. You could have also broken the hotel bill up into meals and laundry and other kinds of things. The list of expense categories that you'll see here are completely up to your company to set and configure, and we help with that on initial setup. So now that we've got this expense report, if we were part of an approval process, we can go ahead and click Submit. It's going to ask for approval, and then it's going to go ahead and submit everything for approval. Since this administrator, I'm logged on as the administrator, they don't actually have anybody to do their approvals in this test example organization. It marked them all approved right away. So you'll see now in summary, it says subtotal, total due. You can see the same values at the top. We might want to break things down by expense categories. So as an administrator, I can go ahead and change some of those settings. So I'm going to say I want to, in my layout, I want to have expense category summary table, and I'm going to make it turned on. So let's go ahead and do that. And now when we go back to expenses, you'll see that the summary table now breaks it down also by expense categories. There is the view PDF option, which will show you a PDF of your expense reports. It's just opening right now. And when we do that, you'll see that we zoom in and you'll see the expense report with all the line items, all the subtotals, all the totals, and even signature lines if you wish them. Those can be turned on and off for you. Now we notice we have this other tab called weeks, and if we look at that, it gives us a week at a glance, 7 days at a glance, which is kind of nice if you want to see if you've missed any meals in here, any taxi charges you know you took during the week, you can see them all. Any of these line items, if you click on them, you have a bunch of things you can do to it. If you go back to the line items tab, you'll see the same list of options for you. You can delete a line item, but you can't normally do that unless you're an administrator once it's been approved. Duplicate a line item, which will copy the line item and mark the new copy in draft. Edit it, which is just as easy as double clicking. You don't actually have to do a single click. And the final one was view history, where you can see the approval, the created and approval history, and the routing history if there was any routing. Now let's do a couple extra things. Let's look at receipts. I can upload new receipts, and anything I happen to have on my hard drive, I can go ahead and choose, and we support a variety of file formats, and you can upload 3 files at a time, but as many files as you want. So you can pull up this dialog as many times as you want. When that happens, it creates a thumbnail, and you can actually zoom in on the page and see what's going on, and make it full screen width. You can zoom out, you can click zoom in, you can do whatever you'd like to see your receipts. You can also, if you click on this link, you'll get a fax cover page where you can look at your receipt. You can actually fax in your receipts to us through an 800 number, and we'll automatically attach them to your expense report for you. Now let's go ahead and create another expense report. Now this one I'm going to do because I have some credit card transactions. Nexonia supports 2 forms of credit card integration. One of them is corporate card integration, which we work with American Express and other credit card companies, and we will automatically, in conjunction with your administrators, download your credit card transactions into the system so that you can just add them to an expense report. The other way is for personal card integration. That's what I'm going to show you now. I've set up a sample Visa card profile, and we can help you set those up and figure out how to do them. I've got a sample Visa file that I downloaded from my bank, and I can click apply, and as soon as I do that, it brought in a whole bunch of transactions. And I can see here Toys R Us is probably not something I'm going to include on an expense report, but the other expenses from my personal card look like they're valid company expenses. So let's create another one, and maybe this one is Chicago again trip. And for this one, I'm going to click add from credit card, and when I do that, I can see here I had hotel charge, but it's in Salt Lake. But for this purpose, I'll say it was part of the Chicago trip. Here's another one. Here's a car rental. Here is a meal, restaurant charges. And maybe that's it for this particular one. If I click create and close, you'll see that automatically the date, the amount, all the reference information that came from my Visa card download are all included automatically in the system. Now, it doesn't, credit cards do not eliminate the need to provide receipts. So in each one of these cases, I didn't have my system configured so it would say receipt as a default. So I'm going to say I am going to provide receipts. And then what I would do is I would go to the receipts page and I would actually upload my receipts, or I would fax them into the system. So when I close this again, I can see my expense report. This one has not been submitted for approvals. I could submit it for approvals if I wish. I can also view the PDF at this interface, or duplicate an entire expense report if I want, or I can delete one if it's in draft status, or if I'm an administrator. So I hope this has served to give you a little bit of an overview of Nexonia's expense report system. It uses some quite advanced web technologies, but we try to make it very simple and very user-friendly, both for the end users and for the administrators. Thank you very much, and we look forward to serving you. Bye for now.